According to recent data, the average American holds over $15,000 in debt. At this point, it's hard to deny the truth. Debt has become the new definition of the middle class. Most families aren't building wealth. They're surviving month to month, one unexpected bill away from a financial breakdown. In this video, you're going to understand exactly why the middle class is collapsing. It's not because people are irresponsible, but because the entire system is slowly squeezing them dry without them even noticing. More importantly, I'll show you how to escape this trap before it drains your future too. Here's the scary part. The middle class doesn't go broke through one big disaster. It happens quietly. Interest rates creeping up, grocery prices rising faster than paychecks, rent climbing every year, savings shrinking, debt snowballing. Individually, these things look small. Together, they form the perfect storm. A storm so slow and subtle that most people don't realize they're sinking until the water is already at their neck. And if you're just starting your financial journey, this is the moment where one wrong move can set you back years. Here's what we're going to break down step by step. The hidden money leaks that are draining the middle class today. The psychological trap that keeps people stuck living paycheck to paycheck. And the simple financial structure beginners can use to protect their money, even starting with $50 or $100. But before we fix any of this, there's one pattern in middle class spending that almost guarantees whether someone will break out or stay broke forever. It's a pattern so common, most people never even question it. Yet it's the strongest predictor of financial collapse. And once you see it, everything about your money will make a lot more sense. Let's start there.
Before the modern debt spiral, before credit cards, and before monthly payments became the default way to live, there was something we've almost forgotten. It was a time when the middle class didn't need debt to survive, a concept that sounds almost impossible today. The first true American middle class, which rose after World War II, lived comfortably on cash flow alone. Families resided in modest yet functional homes, and they owned fewer possessions, but what they did own was built to last. Vacations were simple, eating out was a rare treat, and entertainment often consisted of a radio, a television, or community events. People weren't financing everyday items like couches, phones, TVs, food, or even vacations. The very idea of owing money for daily life felt inherently dangerous to them. Here's a crucial detail that almost nobody your age has been told. The middle class back then wasn't built by credit. Instead, it was built on a foundation of stability. Wages consistently grew, jobs were predictable, and housing was genuinely affordable. Healthcare wasn't a looming financial threat, and education didn't demand a lifetime of payments. Culturally, life wasn't about showing off. There was no Instagram lifestyle to chase, no pressure to match the spending of strangers, and no obsession with looking rich. People built their identity around family, community, church, unions, local clubs, and neighbors. Their identity wasn't tied to the car in the driveway or the brand on their shoes. Even entertainment reflected this mindset, with modest shows, simple stories, and traditional values. Many adults in the 1950s had lived through the Great Depression, instilling in them a deep, emotional respect for saving, frugality, repairing things, and avoiding unnecessary risk. Debt wasn't normal, it wasn't casual, and it certainly wasn't something to brag about. Debt was seen as a last resort, something to genuinely fear. America's middle class once stood on a strong foundation of stability, savings, and simplicity. But then, slowly and quietly, something fundamental changed. America discovered a new way to feel prosperous, without actually being prosperous. And that shift transformed everything about the economy, and profoundly about you.
As the strong post-war economy faded, something subtle, but incredibly important, began to happen in America. Wages stopped rising. Prices kept going up. Families could no longer maintain the lifestyle they once enjoyed. And instead of fixing the underlying problem, America found a shortcut, a way to look wealthy without actually being wealthy, a way to maintain the lifestyle of the past without the financial stability of the past. And that shortcut was credit. It began with something small, store charge cards. Places like Macy's and Sears allowed loyal customers to buy now and pay later. Suddenly, you could own something without the money to actually pay for it. It felt harmless, convenient, modern, but it planted a seed. For the first time, ordinary people could experience the feeling of prosperity without having real prosperity. Then came the breakthrough moment, and it happened by accident. In 1950, a man named Frank McNamara forgot his wallet while dining out. Embarrassed, he imagined a future where people could pay without cash. And just like that, the Diners Club card was born, a small invention that opened the door to an entirely new financial world. People didn't need savings anymore, they just needed a card. But the Real Revolution came in 1958 when Bank of America did something unthinkable. They mailed 60,000 credit cards to random households in Fresno, California. No application, no approval process, no background check, no request from the customer. Just instant, effortless access to debt. People were shocked, confused. Some were excited. Many had no idea what this little piece of plastic would eventually become. Because this time, unlike the Diners Club card, you didn't need to pay the balance in full each month. You could carry a balance. You could delay the paying. You could borrow indefinitely and pay interest forever. This single decision, allowing people to maintain a lifestyle without the cash to afford it, completely changed the trajectory of the American middle class. It was the moment America learned, you don't need real wealth to feel wealthy. You just need monthly payments. And that shift laid the foundation for the modern debt-fueled lifestyle. A lifestyle that looks good in pictures, but quietly empties your future.
By the late 1960s and early 1970s, something fundamental was happening in America, something most families didn't notice until it was too late. Debt wasn't just becoming available. Debt was becoming normal. The strong post-World War II economy was slowing down. Wages stopped rising. Inflation pushed the cost of housing, food, healthcare, and energy higher and higher. And suddenly, the middle class had a problem. They wanted the same lifestyle their parents had, but they couldn't afford it anymore. Debt stepped in to fill the gap. Quietly, smoothly, almost invisibly. What started as a convenience became a necessity. Why wait? Upgrade today. Enjoy now, pay later. Banks weren't just offering credit anymore. They were marketing it, selling it, advertising it, rewarding it. Debt wasn't presented as a burden. It was presented as a benefit. Something modern, something empowering, something everyone was doing. People started to believe, why save for something when you can finance it and enjoy it right now? And this shift didn't just happen financially. It happened culturally. America moved from modesty and community identity to individualism and consumption. Owning more became tied to self-worth. Success became measured by the car you drove, the vacation you posted, the home upgrades you financed. Not by stability, not by savings, not by freedom. That had become socially acceptable, then normal, then expected. And as the culture changed, the middle class changed with it. People were no longer asking, can I afford this? They were asking, what's the monthly payment? The question seems innocent, but it marks the very moment America stopped building real wealth and started building an economy powered by lifelong payments. A world where you can have anything you want, as long as you're willing to stay in debt forever.
By the 1970s, debt wasn't just a cultural trend anymore. It was becoming infrastructure, engineered, standardized, and woven into the fabric of American life. This is the moment when debt stopped being a personal decision and became a national business model. One policy at a time, the foundations of the modern debt economy were being built. The first shift, making debt trackable. In 1970, the Fair Credit Reporting Act created standardized credit reporting. For the first time, banks track your financial behavior and judge your trustworthiness with a number. Not by character, not by reputation, but by data. This made lending easier, more profitable, and more scalable. The second shift, making debt accessible to everyone. In 1974, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act made it illegal to deny credit based on race, gender, or marital status. A necessary and important step socially, but financially, it opened the floodgates. Millions of new borrowers entered the system overnight, people who previously couldn't access debt, and lenders realized something massive. The more people who borrow, the richer the system becomes. The third shift, making debt expensive. In 1978, a Supreme Court ruling deregulated credit card interest rates. Suddenly, banks could charge almost anything they wanted. 18%, 22%, 29%. It didn't matter. The era of high-interest, high-profit consumer debt had begun, the fourth shift, making debt an investment product. In 1980, deregulation allowed banks to bundle loans and sell them on Wall Street. Your debt wasn't just a payment anymore. It was a commodity, something investors could bet on, trade, package, profit from. Debt had officially become the backbone of the American financial system. The final shift, turning debt into identity. In 1989, the FICO score was born. Suddenly, your ability to participate in the economy, renting an apartment, buying a home, getting a job, depended on a single number. A number the system needed you to protect. A number that forced you to borrow, because how else do you build credit? And just like that, debt went from a tool you could choose to a requirement you had to obey. By the end of the 80s, the debt economy was complete, easy to access, hard to escape, profitable at every stage, and driven by policies that encouraged more borrowing, not less. The middle class didn't even realize what happened. One generation earlier, families avoided debt at all costs. Now, the economy didn't just offer debt, it depended on the middle class using it. By the 1990s, something strange had happened to the middle class. The original path into prosperity, the one built on stable wages, simple living, and savings, was gone. And in its place, a new pathway emerged. Not built on earnings, not built on security, but built on debt. College, take out a loan. Education used to be affordable, but now it requires decades of payments. Student loans became the entry ticket to a career, even though they trap people financially before their adult life even begins. People graduate with a degree and a bill bigger than their first salary. Cars, finance them. The average American can't pay cash for a car anymore. So the system offers 48-month, 60-month, and 72-month plans. Lower monthly payments, but higher lifetime cost. Cars stopped being purchases, they became subscriptions. Furniture, monthly payments. Phones, monthly payments. Vacations, monthly payments. Mattresses, monthly payments. Appliances, monthly payments. Everything became a payment plan. Every milestone of adulthood, renting, furnishing a home, starting a family, commuting to work, came wrapped in financing. People weren't buying things. They were buying months. Homes. Forget it. Housing used to be the symbol of middle-class stability. Now it's the symbol of middle-class struggle. Prices rose far faster than wages. Interest rates added fuel to the fire. And suddenly, a home stopped being something you saved for. It became something you had to borrow your future to afford. The illusion of success. From the outside, the middle class looked prosperous. New cars in the driveway, furnished apartments, college degrees, vacations, upgraded lifestyles. But inside the system, the numbers told a different story. Savings collapsing, debt increasing, financial anxiety rising, people falling behind month after month. The American dream was still alive, but now it came with 30 years of payments attached. The shift that changed everything. For earlier generations, work, save, buy. For modern generations, borrow, pay, repeat. Debt didn't just support the middle class. Debt became the middle class. And because everyone around you is doing the same thing, it feels normal, expected, just how life works. But this new version of the American dream came with a cost. It made the middle class look richer than ever, while quietly making them poorer than ever. Now that debt had become
Debt has transitioned from a temporary phase to a permanent lifestyle for many young and middle-aged adults. This shift is driven by a complex interplay of economic factors, psychological influences, and societal norms. Stagnant wages and rising living costs make it difficult to meet basic needs without resorting to credit. The savings rate declined significantly from 9 to 11% in the 1980s to less than 1.4% by 2005, highlighting a shift towards debt finance consumption. Historically, 19th century debt was for productive investments like land, while borrowing for non-essential items was seen as imprudent. The 20th century introduced installment credit for big-ticket items like cars, fundamentally changing how Americans finance their lives. Debt can trigger anxiety, stress, frustration, and guilt, impacting mental well-being and leading to sleep disturbances. It can also be addictive, driven by impulsivity and the desire for immediate gratification, leading to a cycle of repeated borrowing. Common causes include low income, unexpected expenses, poor money management, divorce, and significant student loan debt. High student loan debt can delay major life milestones like marriage and homeownership and is linked to poorer mental health outcomes. Effective debt management involves creating a budget, prioritizing high-interest debts, building an emergency fund, and avoiding new debt. Alternative financing options like peer-to-peer lending and crowdfunding offer flexibility, especially for startups and small businesses. While personal debt is crucial, it's important to differentiate it from national debt, which for the U.S. totaled around $38 trillion as of October 2025. By increasing financial literacy, developing sound budgeting habits, and exploring options, individuals can regain control and build a more secure financial future.
Debt is one of the most flexible products in the world. It doesn't matter what generation you're in. There will always be a new form of debt waiting for you, wrapped in fresher branding, sold with better marketing, but built on the exact same foundation. Loan someone money for something they can't afford and collect payments forever. The packaging changes. The strategy does not. For our grandparents, store credit. It started small. Department stores introduced charge accounts. You could take something home today and pay the store later.
It felt convenient, safe, simple. It was the beginning of everyday consumer debt.
For our parents, credit cards. Then came the real breakthrough. Credit cards were marketed as modern, sophisticated, empowering, a sign of adulthood. Carrying a balance became normal. Interest payments became expected. Everyone had at least one card, then two, then five. The system didn't just offer debt, it expanded it. For us, student loans. Then came a new trap, one aimed at the younger generation. To get a better life, you needed a degree. To get a degree, you had to borrow money. And suddenly, teens who had never held a full-time job were taking on tens of thousands of dollars in loans with no real understanding of repayment. Debt wasn't a choice anymore. Debt was a requirement for opportunity. For Gen Z and beyond, fintech debt. Now we have the newest rebranding. Buy now, pay later. Microloans. Split payments. For easy installments. In-app financing. Zero interest for now. Companies promise it's smarter, faster, more flexible, more convenient. But underneath the modern design, it's the same trap. Debt reinvents itself because it has to. As soon as people begin to wake up to one form of debt, a new one appears. It adapts. It modernizes. It blends seamlessly into daily life. And because it keeps updating, each generation believes, this version is different. This version is safe. This version makes sense. But the truth is simple. Debt doesn't evolve to help you. Debt evolves to keep you paying. It's not a financial tool. It's a business strategy. A strategy that gets more sophisticated every time the middle class gets poorer.
Debt is everywhere.
Right, another deep dive in the books. In this video, we uncovered something uncomfortable but incredibly important. The middle class wasn't built on debt. It became dependent on debt, and now it's trapped by it. But understanding the system is the first step to escaping it. So let's close with the 3 takeaways that matter most. First, debt is a habit, not a requirement. Most people don't question debt because they've been taught it's normal. Everyone has payments. That's just adulthood. You need debt to build credit. No, debt is not a natural part of life. Debt is a product, marketed the same way companies market soda, fast food, and luxury brands. It's not essential. It's learned. And anything learned can be unlearned. The moment you stop viewing debt as necessary, you regain control. Second, debt makes life harder, not better. We all know this logically, but most people don't feel it until they're drowning. Debt makes your life more complicated, more stressful, less flexible, more fragile. When you owe money, you lose your freedom. When you owe nothing, you gain options. Simplicity is not just peaceful, it's powerful. Third, the best way to stick it to the system is to not participate in it. You don't beat the system by outsmarting lenders. You beat the system by not needing them. The real rebellion is financial independence. Because when you're not buried in monthly payments, you can leave a toxic job. You can negotiate without fear. You can invest aggressively. You can choose your future instead of being pushed into it. Debt keeps you obedient. Freedom makes you unpredictable. And nothing terrifies the system more than a person it can't control. Your future self depends on what you do next. You don't have to swear off every loan forever. You don't need to live like a monk. This isn't about shame. It's about waking up. It's about realizing that the version of adulthood sold to us was never designed to benefit us. It was designed to keep us paying. And once you see the game, you can stop playing it. Build your savings. Avoid unnecessary debt. Take back control, one decision at a time. Your future self is counting on you. And trust me, they'll thank you for what you choose today.